Welcome back, everybody, to the second episode of the Revived Trade Talk podcast. I apologize. I am a day late on actually recording. I was meaning to do it yesterday, but I had to replace the brakes on my car and the rotors. And I didn't have any power tools. And it was all by hand, and it was just terrible. I started on Sunday. Took me most of the day, had to drill out a rotor, then went on to Monday after work, Tuesday after work, and finally finished it up yesterday. So, yeah, and now I'm kind of feeling rough. I'm exhausted. I've been breathing brake dust for the last 3 days. So, if any of you guys ever want to buzz, no, I'm just kidding. It's terrible. I'm just coughing up like, I'm not even going to get into it. It's terrible. But anyways, I'm back. I did a little bit of analysis before starting the podcast, so I have a couple of things to share with you guys. First off, for those of you that aren't already part of the Slack channel, I do live in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. And one of my buddies there, he started a Slack channel called Vic Blockchain. So if you're not in there, I do post updates in there. As you know, it's a volatile market. Things change. You kind of got to change your bias here and there. I'm not saying like go back on a trade or anything like that, but you do need to reanalyze. If something doesn't go your way and you get stopped out, then you kind of want to reanalyze, find another entry. Don't get discouraged. These things happen, and it'll only make you a better trader in the long run. So why don't we just get right to it? So first thing I wanted to do is kind of bring your attention to the Bitcoin weekly chart here. Now, here's your Ichimoku cloud. I'm not going to recap it this time. I think I did a decently good job of recapping it on the last episode. So if you want to learn a little bit more about Ichimoku Cloud, feel free to go to the previous podcast video, and I'll give you kind of an overview of what it's all about. But for those of you that do know, I just wanted to bring your attention to the retest here. So as you guys know, we had this huge drop down from around the 10K level all the way down to the 7,700 level. And then also what I found quite interesting and honestly just looking at the chart, the weekly chart as a whole, you can see these kinds of occurrences happen quite often, and I feel like this is how we can find great entries and exits, profit taking targets, all that kind of good stuff. So if you look back the week of June 3rd and the week of June 10th of 2019, you can kind of see that these two candles, so on the 3rd of June, that week anyways, we had a drop. We had a little bit of a wick down below 7,600-ish, a little bit wick down. But look at where the candle closed that week, and then look at where it sort of opened. And you can see that, I guess I should say, the week preceding it, we have this hanging man, is what they kind of call it, a doji type candle, which just shows indecision, right? You got a really small body of the candle here, and you don't really see any upward movement. You see kind of a push down, and it kind of stays within this really tight price range. So you can see that after that, and that's a reversal signal, right? So based on that, upon this week, the open of this weekly, we could have taken a short based on that fact alone, also coupled with the fact that we're pretty close to our resistance here in our Ichimoku cloud. So coupled with that, we can say that we could have taken a short there, and then you can take a long there. really, we found some resistance here, but I'm sure if we went back to the daily here, you can kind of see that. Oh, well, geez, I didn't really even take note of when that was. Let me just do that real quick. So 17th of June, if we kind of take a look at the 17th of June here, right around here, well, you can see that the daily kind of, we have like these kind of bullish sandwich candles, right? And based on that, and based with our Tenkin, prices above our Tenkin, we could have taken a long there. Obviously, hindsight is 2020 and say what you want, but just trying to run through my thoughts and break it all down for you guys. However, on the weekly, more recently, we can see that, and obviously this weekly candle hasn't closed yet, but you can see that we've actually hit our Kijin here, right around 8,500, and it was a pretty perfect hit. It creeped up a little bit above there, but you can see that it hit and it slammed down, and currently we still have 5 days to the week. So what we're really looking at here, and what I kind of want to see, is a close below this level. If we can see a close below this level, I think we can start taking into serious consideration some short positions. So looking at the daily, so I mentioned last time that, or I don't know if I mentioned it in the podcast or if I mentioned it in the Slack channel, but I mentioned this bullish divergence kind of happening after this huge drop. And while it's still there, I'm not too convinced that we are going to go up from here. It's hard to say. But really, I just, based on the weekly and based on how the weekly will close, I just don't think that we are going to close above 8,500. If we do, then we can reconsider, we can reanalyze, and we can take a long position based on that fact. But right now, we're seeing some pretty heavy resistance right around the 8,500 area. So based on that, we can there's a lot of indecision. I got to say, there's a lot of indecision right now. It's hard to say. I have a feeling we're going to have a drop. We have a lot of different kind of targets, or sorry, I shouldn't say targets, but areas of resistance that we got to break through, coupled with our cloud and some Fibonacci retracements. I just don't think we're going to get there. As you can see here on the 4-hour, I mentioned, actually, I think I updated on Sunday. I think I updated the people in the Slack group there on Sunday that we've been holding this trend line ever since the drop. We've been holding this trend line pretty well. And I actually did take a short position based on that fact, because we're below our area of support or resistance, right? Like we've been testing it. We've been testing this trend line. We've been testing this area of resistance. And we failed to break through. However, when I did take the short position, we did actually break through that trend line and went up a bit. And I think I had some positions, I had some orders in between 8,100 and 8,300. And I put my stop loss at 8,500. And lo and behold, it pretty much just hit 8,500 and I got stopped out. So obviously that really sucked for me. I didn't put a huge amount of money into it or anything, but it's something that we can learn from, right? So as you can see, I actually added this additional trend line, and that's going to be kind of what I kind of want to say is our bullish trend line here. So we have our bearish trend line and our bullish trend line coming across. And so upon breaking this bullish trend line, you can see that price went down and it pretty much spiked our last area of support and our lowest local low. Lowest local low. It was our local low. and then you can see we start trending up, and that's coupled with our RSI bullish divergence. And it broke through this trend line, and really my stop loss should have been a lot tighter than 8,500, considering that's kind of where support, or not support, but resistance is for price coming out of this break. So right now, what I'm kind of looking at and what I'm kind of looking for would be for a long position. I'd be looking right around this area of support, 8,200, maybe even a bit below, maybe 8,115, considering that's coupled with our Tenkin line that is from our Ichimoku cloud indicator. So that's what I'd be looking for a long, somewhere in here, somewhere between 8,100 and 8,200. And for a short position, I do believe that I'll be waiting until this sort of 8,700 region, coupled with our trend line, coupled with our Ichimoku cloud resistance. So what I kind of want to see is I want to see resistance right around this area and a rejection of price right around that area to see a short. So somewhere in the 87, 80, I'd say 80. I want to say 86 because that's our Ichimoku cloud, but let's just be safe. I have this prior area of resistance. So if we can see rejection right around 8,700, I think that we can take a short, and we can take a short back down to this $8,000 area. But that's really what I'm looking for right now. I don't really see much of a position that we can take. There's a lot of indecision, and I mean, it's tough. It's tough to watch, and it's painful just to wait. However, more often than not, and I mean, it's happened to me plenty of times, you don't think price is going to get there, and price gets there, and you wish you had waited a day. You wish you had waited 2 days, right? So that's kind of where I'm sitting at with BTC. So just a quick recap. We have, let me just go back to the weekly here. So just a quick recap. We have a rejection of 8,500 here. Throughout the week, we could be wicking up and down, up above this, down below this. But really what I'm looking for is within the next 5 days, if we can close below 8,500, then I can see price dragging down, and we can even hit maybe something like 6,500. Obviously, we kind of have this edge to edge trade active, meaning, when you kind of see some movement through this cloud, the chances are that it'll reach the other edge of the cloud, which is right around our $6,000 support, which is kind of convenient and interesting that that's kind of our support, considering that the last podcast I was talking about that huge move down from 6,000 to 3,000 that we saw back in December or November of 2018. So again, I'd like to see price close below 8,500 on the weekly. That's in about 5 days. On the daily, within the next 5 days, we can see some movement up into this area right around 8,700. Sorry, wrong chart here, but yeah, right around on the daily, I'd like to see maybe a move up to 8,700, a rejection of price around here to take a short back down to 8,000. However, if we break through and we find support right around 8,700, and in the next 5 days we close above 8,500, then I'd like to see that in order to take a long up to our next position, which is lining up quite nice with our Fibonacci, our trend line, which I'm just going to extend a little more here just to kind of show you. So you can imagine in the next 7 days, this trend line latches up pretty nicely with our area of resistance. We have our Tenkin here right around 9,000, area of resistance 9,200. This trend line that was drawn previously before the breakdown from 10,000 to 7,000, which brings us up to around 9,500. So this sort of area, you want to keep it safe, maybe 9,200, take a little bit more risk than just move up through this blue rectangle of resistance and this trend line that has been previously drawn. As far as Ichimoku goes, right now it's telling us that we're not going to be seeing much bullishness. However, it is a lagging indicator, and maybe the 4-hour will be a little more insightful. So even on the 4-hour, a little more short term, we can see that this cloud is saying, hey, we're bearish right now, and you can kind of see that it's going to be providing some resistance coming up to this $8,700 level, along with our trend line, along with our Kijin. So yeah, right now it's kind of a waiting game. Obviously I got stopped out on the last trade. That kind of sucked. So I'm going to try and, like I said, keep my emotions in check, and let's just wait for that setup. Let's just wait for all these kind of indicators and all our levels of support and resistance and our trend lines to kind of line up and show confirmation that price is either being held there, rejected there, or supported there. And we'll take a move from there, like I said. Please join the Slack channel, Vic Blockchain. I'll leave the link in the description. So join it. I like to post in there often throughout the week, and a couple times throughout the day. I'll check up on the charts, and if I see anything alarming, if I see any reason for change of bias, or if I see a good entry, then I will update you guys there. So yeah, if we take a look maybe at Ethereum now, the daily is kind of telling us the same thing, right? Oh, well, why don't we just take a look at the weekly as well? There's not too much info on the weekly. However, this is the BitMEX chart. So let me see if I can pull up Bitstamp, because they have pretty good history there. Now they don't even have that great of history. Well, let's look at the daily then, and let's take a look at it. So same kind of idea. Let's see, did I draw anything over here? I didn't draw anything. But let's just make some areas for us to target. And I'll show you how I kind of do that. Yeah, so this is for a recent area. This looks like a pretty good area of, let me just turn this magnet off. I don't know why. Sometimes I turn that on for Fibonacci's and whatnot. All right. Let's just take a look. Jesus, this thing is long. Sorry. Oh man, it's so annoying. All right. It's extended pretty far there. All right, let me just bring her down. Let's go over to the daily. Stretch that out a bit. Yeah, I don't got a mouse. I'm just kind of like doing it on my laptop, so just bear with me here. Trying to figure out what our best sort of area is here. So I'd say that looks pretty good right now. So you can see support, breakthrough, test, breakthrough. We almost reached the edge of our cloud here. We're short like $10 of our area of resistance from the Ichimoku cloud. And we come back down, we break through here, and we find some support right around 150. And currently right now, we are testing this area of now turned resistance. And so what we're seeing here is this area of resistance. We see our Tenkin, which is going to act as a minor support of resistance, and we see our Kijin, which is going to act as a major support of resistance. And then above that, we're going to see our Ichimoku cloud acting as another area of resistance. So to take a short position, I'd say we'd have to kind of, well, right now, honestly, it looks like we're not looking too good for price going up. You can see that we're testing this area of resistance 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Let's take a look at the 4 hour, see what that looks like. All right, so maybe not that many times. On the 4 hour, we got 1, 2 test. So we can form a sort of double top here, coupled with our Ichimoku cloud, which is currently also acting as resistance. And really this huge area of resistance, this long flat top of the cloud right around 188, is also going to be resistance. So if we can break through this area right between 180 and 184 and come back down and test it as support, well, then we have some bullishness. However, right now I'm thinking that we are seeing sort of a double top kind of thing forming. So maybe tomorrow morning, take a look at it and we'll see how price is reacting to this area of resistance. If we kind of see it slam down, well, I'm comfortable kind of taking a short position from there. And I feel like we could probably set our targets, and let's call them short-term targets for now. But let's kind of set our target at, draw another one of these guys. We're going to set our target in this area, I'd say. So you kind of see these wick downs into this area when the drop happened. A major wick down, however, we didn't close. We closed in the area of support. We opened the next candle in the area of support, went up a bit, tested this as resistance. Now we're waiting to see what price does here again. I feel like if price bounces from this point and bounces off of this as resistance and price starts to drive down, well then we'll be seeing this area next, which is about I really got to get this all kind of set up. I think this is, there we go. So from right around this area, I'd say 183. We can put a stop right around 188. And our target can be 163. Let's see here. If we even draw a Fibonacci from our local low, and let me just throw on the magnet. That's what I use it for, to catch these wicks here. Yeah. So we can actually set our target. We can take some profits. Let's do this. We can take some profits right around 165 just to be safe. And we can also take some profits right around 159, with 152 being our absolutely lowest target. So what we can do is we can do something like, let's see here. We can go 162, take some profits, move our stop. We'll take some profits here, okay? And then what we'd want to see is we'd want to see a retest of this area again. If it acts as resistance, well, then we can move our stop loss possibly, let's say, down to our 169, 168 level. We can target the next Fibonacci retracement, and then we can target the very last one, which is 152. So overall, we want to target this bottom one. We got a risk-reward ratio of 6.15. If we're doing our secondary target here, it's a risk-reward ratio of 4.72. And if we bring it down here, well, we got a risk-reward ratio of 3.63. However, if you can take out half your position here, maybe 25% here, 25% here, all the while moving your stop losses down. Moving your stop losses down and just keeping your profits safe, right? And you can kind of use these Fibonacci's as stop loss indicators and targets, right? So you can see how price is bouncing off this Fibonacci here and how it's reacting. And you can see that right around here, it's pretty much bouncing off this Fibonacci here. So what you can do is you can set a stop right above that Fibonacci should price come lower. I also wanted to take a look at XRP here. And not too much analysis on XRP. I'm more of a long-term holder of XRP. I think great things will happen. However, if we do look at XRP right now, I do believe this is some of the most amazing buying opportunities for some of these major altcoins. Prices are so low. I mean, even on the weekly, if you're looking at the weekly, you can see that it's been a while. It's been a long while since price has been this low. And granted, we are kind of acting, this price right here is kind of acting as resistance right now. However, I don't really care. If price does go lower, that's great. That's just cheaper XRP for me to buy, for you guys to buy. But I do think that one of these days we are just going to break through and it is just going to go to the moon. And at that time, you're going to be wishing that you are holding some XRP. So whatever profits you do make from intra or intraday trading on leverage, for example, Ethereum or Bitcoin, you can always take a little bit of those profits, toss them into some altcoins, XRP, Cardano, Loom. There's a bunch of good ones out there. EOS. There's tons of these coins that have great historical price action. Granted, back in 2018, a lot of them did. But I do think that we're going to see something like that again in the near future. And I think it's going to make some people a lot of money. And I just think this because the current situation in the States, and I know we aren't the States, but geez, our economy, Canada's economy is pretty much dictated by the States as far as I'm concerned. And right now the Fed in the States is printing off billions and billions and billions and billions. They've already printed off more money than they did back in the 2008 housing market crisis. And so that's really alarming. They are just trying to bail pretty much the banks out and the repo market. And from what I understand, the repo market is that in the fractional reserve banking system, it's exactly how it kind of sounds like, right? They only need to have a fraction of the money that, how to explain this? Let's say you deposit $1 million. They only need to hold on to $100,000 of that money in actual physical assets. The other 900,000 they can loan out. They can loan it out and collect interest on it from other people while paying you a really shitty interest rate, on top of that, right? You'll make your 2% a year, maybe 2.5, and you think you're kind of like stoked on that, and like you're a little bit better than inflation at that point. Inflation is about 2% a year, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that's great and all. While they take the rest of your money and they loan it out to some other guy, at 10% or whatever the hell. And so the repo market is pretty much, at the end of the day, they need to be able to account for that cash, right? If they've loaned it out, well, then they're going to borrow more. They're going to borrow more from another bank, another institution, to kind of make up those losses. Because for whatever reason, if you need to go and take out the $1 million, the $1 million has to be there, right? But it's not always there. At the end of the day, it's just a number on your phone or on your computer, right? It's just a number in your bank account. It's digital, right? I mean, it's there, and it's always going to be there, but it's not actually there, if that makes sense. So because at the end of the day, if you're one customer at your bank and you put in $1 million, well, they have, a million other customers putting in, their own money. And so maybe their total size of the money that they take in, let's say it's like 100 billion or something like that. Well, at the end of the day, not all $100 billion is going to be withdrawn from the bank at the same time. So meanwhile, while you think that million that's sitting in your bank account, that number that you see in your bank account is your million, really it's not your million. I mean, it's a collection of millions of people or all the clients that are part of the bank. It's everybody's money, right? It's kind of like, it could be, 10,000 could be like some other guy, another 10,000 could be like some other guy, I guess, right? Oh man, I really got to work on my speech, but anyways, it's not actually your money that you're getting back. Like let's say you marked each dollar bill with your initials, right? And you put it into the bank machine. Well, guess what? When you pull it out, you're probably not going to get that bill with your initials on it anymore. It's just going to be some other bill, right? And that's kind of how the banking system works. And so right now, the Fed is actually, and the repo market is kind of what the banks use to settle, to make sure they have enough cash in their reserves at the end of the day. And right now, that market is kind of going to crap, and it's going to shit. And the Fed is just printing money, and they're just pumping it into this repo market to try and essentially bail the banks out, because they're panicking, right? And the interest rates are high, and there's a bunch of stuff going on. And just from what I've read, from what I feel, I mean, I'm not an economist, but it just seems to me that, printing a bunch of money and supply and demand, and just inflating the supply so much just can't be good in the long run. It seems like a bubble. Right? And then you have Jeff Bezos, sitting on Amazon stock for years and years and years and years, and now he's starting to trickle out of the market, and he's starting to sell off his stock. And like intelligent people, right, that probably know like something's gonna happen. And I feel like as soon as shit hits the fan and all these people start panicking and pulling money out of your traditional stock market, the New York Stock Exchange or whatever, even the Chinese stock exchange, if we're talking on a global scale, well, that money's gonna have to go somewhere. Cash might not be the best way to hold all your money. So it's got to go somewhere. And I do think it's going to go into crypto, kind of coinciding with institutional investors and backed and all this kind of stuff. I think it's going to be a magnificent bull run. And I really want to take part in it. I didn't get to take part in it. Actually, I did take part in it back in 2018, except, I was one of those guys buying at the top. So, this time around, I'm not going to be one of those guys buying at the top. I'm going to be buying cheap, and I'm going to be just stacking my coin. And then when the bull run happens, I don't know when, but when it does, and I think it'll be relatively soon, maybe a year, maybe 2. But the more time I have to stack these physical coins, these cryptos, the happier I'll be, because when the bull run comes, I will be a wealthy man, or wealthier than I was anyways. So Some closing thoughts. One, bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. That's not an original saying, by the way, but I do hear it around a lot, and I do like it because it's true. If you can analyze the market, if you can stay disciplined, well then whether you're a bull one week, a bear next week, or a bull one day and a bear the next day for the same asset, if you keep your emotions in check, you're gonna make money either way. And same, with pigs get slaughtered, obviously, don't be going 100 times leverage, trying to short something, trying to, pick out trying to snipe out a move that's possibly, will liquidate you if price moves 1%, which is what you're doing when you're leveraging at 100 times your money. You only have a 1% margin of error, which, I mean, if you can snipe that consistently, good for you, but that's just a good way to blow your account. And another kind of quote, and this one I heard a long time ago, but I do agree with it, because we're all meant to be free beings. At the end of the day, I think that instead of me working my 9 to 5, doing something that maybe I like, maybe I don't, making crumbs compared to some other people, it doesn't feel great, and if there's a potential, especially now, to break out of this kind of like 9 to 5 cycle, and if you're feeling trapped, if you're feeling you're at a dead end, I think like this is the way to kind of break through, and maybe you won't be able to retire off one, trade or whatever, but if you can pocket 100,000, 200,000, well, you're a lot better than you were before. And you can just keep trading like that, right? Crypto is still, it's an infancy stage. 5 trillion a day being traded on the New York Stock Exchange, yet our market cap is only, I don't know, let's take a look. Yeah, so the crypto market cap is only 222 billion, and 5 trillion a day is being traded on the New York Stock Exchange. So wrap your head around that. That's not even the total, what do you want to call it? That's not even the total market cap of the New York Stock Exchange. That's just being traded. And we are at a significant fraction of that just for our market cap. And that's not even our trading volume on a daily basis. So with that in mind, what I wanted to say, and I don't know, call me a tinfoil guy, call me a conspiracy theorist, or whatever. But traditional slavery requires the owners to feed and house the people. However, economic slavery requires people to feed and house themselves. And that saying really strikes a note with me, because I guess I don't feel like a slave in the traditional sense, but I do feel like I'm in this kind of rat race and kind of like on the hamster wheel and kind of just running and running and running, not really getting ahead. My rent goes up every 12 months. Everything gets more expensive. My wage doesn't go up though. Sure, maybe we spike minimum wage up to $15 an hour or whatever, but that doesn't really help anything anyways, because guess what? Prices go up, and they go up more than whatever percentage minimum wage went up by. And so I'm just kind of trying to find a way to get ahead at least a little bit. Like right now I'm kind of like sitting at this point where I don't even know how the hell I'm gonna afford a house, and I don't even want to, and if I could, I don't even want to get a mortgage or anything, even though that's like your traditional way of getting a house. But I mean, if I can earn enough cash and just buy a house outright, I mean, that'd be awesome. Or a condo or something, like something to really get me ahead. And that's kind of my goal here. And I kind of want to inspire everybody to kind of think the same, just realize that it is a revolution. And I do think slowly, you got IBM, trickling into blockchain, and all Facebook, even though, Libra's like, fuck Libra, but like, you got big companies, massive companies, like, dabbling in blockchain. So you gotta imagine that there's something in this technology that is really truly unique, and we're gonna go forward, and we're gonna see cross-border payments, and you're gonna be sending, and if Libra does come through, you're going to be sending payments to your friends through Facebook, and they're going to be able to redeem it in whatever currency they want on the other end. You could send some Libra, or currently, let's not talk about Libra, that's bullshit. But for example, right now, Bitcoin, right? You can send Bitcoin for nothing to your friend in China, and they can redeem it in the currency of their choice, whatever that may be, Australia, whatever, right? Whereas previously you're sending payments via the SWIFT protocol, which I've done before to send money to my family in Poland, and that just takes like a week or something, and it's got to be authorized and blah, 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 and it's expensive. There's a huge fee, and it sucks. So I just have this feeling. We're going to have a revolution. It's going to be amazing, and I feel like once it takes off, it's going to be too late. So why not get in right now? And let's say you have $5,000 to invest, and you're not a big believer in crypto and this and that. Like, toss $1,000 in. At the end of the day, $1,000 is not going to break your balls. I mean, it's really, in the grand scheme of things, not that much money. But if you put $1,000 into XRP or BTC or Ethereum or whatever, and that crypto explodes and just goes 50 times, 60 times your money, you're laughing. Even if it goes 10 times or 20 times your money, like, that's a huge step forward that you just gave yourself. Something that, working your 9 to 5 and getting taxed and this and that, it's tough. It's tough to achieve that unless you have a really good job, right? Which the majority of people just aren't making this sort of money in such a short amount of time, especially doing nothing other than investing in crypto. So sorry about my little rant there. I am passionate about it, and I just kind of want to share. And I'm not trying to keep any secrets, and I'm not gonna say I'm a pro trader, but I do kind of want to create this sort of conversation, and I want people to talk to me about trading and where they think price is going, and this and that, where they get their information, what they think, why they think that, and whatnot. So let's just end on that note. Again, we're kind of waiting for some confirmation before we take a long or short position on Bitcoin. Ethereum, same kind of thing. XRP, do what you want with XRP, but I'm just stacking the coin. I'm just slowly trickling some money into XRP, stacking that coin, and yeah. So take it easy, guys. It was a nice chat. I don't know what else to say other than happy trading and good luck. I'll be leaving the link for the Slack channel in the description. So please join. I'll be posting my updates in the trading channel in the Victoria Blockchain Slack. So check it out. let me know. Send me a message. Leave some comments. Do whatever. Love you guys. Take it easy.